I'm really excited today to talk to Jamie Meyerson, who's Vice President of Network Strategy and Operations at the Maven Clinic. Got a lot of good questions for her today. Thank you for joining us today, Jamie. So the first question is, we have kind of a vast audience. Sometimes it's students, sometimes it's entrepreneurs, sometimes it's executives. For the audience that don't know anything about you, can you tell them a little about your journey? How'd you start your career? Then how'd you end up where you are today as Vice President of Network Strategy and Operations at the Maven Clinic?
Yeah, certainly. And thank you for having me here today. I think for me, I'm lucky in that I always knew I wanted to work in healthcare, very broadly defined. In undergrad, I actually was more interested on healthcare policy and equity. I wanted to be a science journalist at some point. But really by the end of undergrad, decided I wanted to gain stronger business acumen and to work on really the scaling company side of the house to solve problems that I was really passionate about and interested in. So that first took the form of joining Deloitte Strategy and Operations consulting practice here in New York City, worked on a bunch of different industries, spent some time in development finance, public-private partnerships, and really took the opportunity to focus back on healthcare and the problems I was really wanting to solve in business school. So while pursuing my MBA, I again worked on healthcare technology problems, global health issues, and at that time really wanted to hone in on value-based care. So I was lucky to be connected from actually a former colleague to Mount Sinai Health Partners, which is a population health group within Mount Sinai system that very specifically focuses on commercializing different products to drive value-based care deals. So that could look like transitioning clinics from fee-for-service to value-based care payment models, or helping build different specialty care bundles. So I really learned how healthcare was delivered on the ground and what different payment models existed. And by the end of those 2 years, I think it set me up really well to make the jump to a startup, which I knew I actually always wanted to do, and was lucky enough to be connected to Maven Clinic. And at that time, it was Series B, around 40 to 60 people. Now fast forward, exceeded 500. So I've really seen that that scaling story here at the company, and have essentially worked to build out all of the different internal teams that's needed to scale and operate a clinical network. So happy to talk more about that and Maven Clinic broadly, but we'll pause there.
Okay, well, what great career journey. Again, really happy to have you here. So let's just talk broadly for a minute about your exact role that you have and what you kind of do on a daily basis, so we get a real understanding of what it means when you're talking about network strategy and head of operations and those type of things.
Yeah, certainly. So even to frame that response, I'd love to provide a bit of color on Maven and its really core offering, the problem it's solving. So with that said, Maven really is solving access to women's health and family planning services that have really been hard to come by over the past decade. So I'm really proud, honestly, to work at a company that's meeting the moment, has been meeting the moment. And again, at its core, Maven offers synchronous and asynchronous visits to over 30 specialists. And that spans everything from OBGYNs, pediatricians, all the way through the coaching side of the house, like lactation consultants, sleep coaches. So it really is a platform that connects people to on-demand care, in addition to content and community forums that really support you on no matter what journey you're on family planning. And again, that can mean thinking about having a family, more on the fertility side of the house, through actively being pregnant and in maternity, through postpartum, pediatrics, and now all the way up through menopause. So with that said, and the reason why I want to give that framing is, at the end of the day, you need people to power that. You need the specialists, and that's what the network really means. It means the network of all of those hundreds of providers across all 50 states in the US and now internationally. So there's a lot of decisions that need to be made, even kind of fundamentally, what specialists are we offering, to what wait times are we staffing the network, what states are we operating in, how are we expanding globally, into what countries. And I would say that's really my mandate. How do you drive to those decisions? How do you look at supply and demand models, commercial sales, layered in with the clinical outcomes we're trying to drive, layered in with the member and the provider experience we want to achieve, to be able to truly roll out the best-in-class product to meet member needs.
So I want to just, it's part of my next question, but it's part of the expansion piece and access, because I think access is, tremendously important in healthcare. How do you think about that when you think about, adding either specialists, expanding into other states, or even expanding globally, which I didn't realize that was something you were looking at? How do you think about that, and what kind of decisions go into, where you might go next, and how do you think broadly about access?
Yeah, certainly. So starting with the access side, a stat that always really rings true with me is in the US, the average wait time for an OBGYN right now is something like 31 days. On Maven, you can speak to an OB within 2 hours. So even just that piece of access, like you have a question that day, you can get it answered that day, is a core tenet for us. And then we think about, okay, how do we increase access, let's say across all 50 states? Because I should mention a big part of our business and how we go to market is through employer benefits. So especially when you have an employer that operates or has employees in all 50 states, and now, per your question, is a multinational and has people around the globe, the question is, how can we offer access to Maven specialists with operational excellence, financial feasibility, regulatory compliance. So I would say those are kind of all the guardrail questions that you just need to consider as a business. And then again, what clinical outcomes are you trying to drive? So for example, if we're trying to support fertility outcomes or NICU admission reductions or improvements in mental health quality of life scoring, we take a step back and say, okay, what is Maven's care plan philosophy? What actions do we want members to take with their Maven providers, their in-person providers, to drive the outcomes that we're looking to help people achieve as our core business? And then also employers or health plans are looking to help their members achieve as well. So really all incentives are aligned.
Okay. And then because this is obviously HITLABs around digital health, I'm curious how like tech-enabled solutions, and how you think of those and how do they fit into your clinic operations?
Yeah. So Maven's at its heart is a tech-enabled services company, right? So I think I recently heard it described very well. Like when you open an Airbnb app and everything works, you can book instantly, or open an Uber and everything works, you can book instantly. The same should apply to healthcare. You should be able to open an app and book instantly, or access the article, or get a push notification. Just everything needs to work well. And again, enable you to find the care that you need in that moment. So I think that could take the flavor over something I think a lot about is, how do you best support a member to have their needs met? A member might not know that a nutritionist might be the best person to answer their question versus an OBGYN, or a midwife, or a doula, or a lactation consultant. So Maven can really help guide a member to the best person to answer their question. And I should also say another hallmark of Maven is our amazing care advocate, care navigation, customer support team. And they will essentially be your quarterback through the Maven experience. And they'll meet with you up front during an intro appointment and say, hey, I hear you. These are the types of questions you're looking to get answered. I recommend speaking with this person, this specialist, and again, guiding you through the experience. So it really is the tech element and the human element that make it successful.
Fantastic. So last question, our time always goes fast. As chairman of the Breakthrough Alliance, I'm intimately involved with HITLAB, and I'm just curious your relationship with HITLAB and what are you doing, working with that group?
Yeah, so I believe I was first connected to HITLAB almost 7 years ago at this point, when I was a graduate student at Columbia. And since then I have always kept in touch. So I'll do things like the Women's Health Tech Wednesday series. I'm always willing to talk, get more involved, but I'm a huge supporter and proponent of these types of organizations, and generally accessible if anyone would like to reach out in the future.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for spending a little time with us today. I really appreciate getting to know you and the Maven Clinic a little better. And Hope to see you at one of the future HITLAB events.